Hey, how you doing? How you get? Martin Luther King didn't marry a black woman, but a great woman that was black. So this video was inspired based on a live stream that happened in Ocean's channel with can you be pro-black and be with a white girl? So to the perspective that I read a lot of this comment section, and from what I can tell you is like personally, I think it's very difficult to actually claim to be pro-black and be with a different race of women. But however, we also need to define what is pro-black in our community. Because say that somebody, is an interracial relationship or intercultural relationship, then is doing a lot more for the black community versus two gun Mikes that has like, five different baby mamas. Would two gun Mike be considered more pro-black than the guy with the white woman? So these like from the impression that I've got from a lot of comments that I've seen on the it seems like pro-black equals dick policing. It seems like you cannot actually pursue your happiness and then actually still, do what needs to be done in order to actually maintain or level up your circle and being, put it this way, right? Put it this way. If Martin Luther King was alive today, he would be regarded as a coon. He would be regarded as a colorist. Because when you check out Coretta Scott King, this bitch light skin as fuck. I apologize. I didn't mean to call her bitch, but she's light skinned as hell. So then he would be considered colorist. But what do I mean by, Coretta Scott, was a great woman that happened to be black? Is because we focus so much on the skin color. We focus so much on the outer shell of the person, but we don't even look at the personalities. And even the pro-black that actually claim to be pro-black, when you're looking at their choices, when you're looking at their dating choices, they never seems to be able to stick around the women that they impregnated, which also raises the question, are you pro-black? Are you simply pro-black? Because there's nothing wrong with actually having any type of preference that you want. But just be real about it. Because a lot of the argument that I've seen, well, matter of fact, we like to make this argument that if Martin Luther King or Malcolm X were, with a white woman, then they wouldn't be considered the leaders of the black community. I can agree to that to a certain extent. But now, let's check out some of the messages. Let's check out the favorite speech of Martin Luther King. And then to see maybe are we actually living to the standard of the message? Are we simply following the message or not the message? Let's find out. So, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I Have a Dream speech. So let's start. I'm happy to join with you today, and that will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decrease came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flame of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chain of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negroes live in a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languishing in the corner of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we have come here today to dramatize a shade tradition. In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic, magnificent word of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall here. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note, insofar as their citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient fund, but refuse to believe that in the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vault of opportunity of this nation. So we have come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this allowed spot to remain America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or take off the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make the real promise of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and the desolate valley of segregation to the sunlight patch of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now it is time to make justice a reality for all God's children. It will be fatal for the nation to overlook this urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro need to blow off steam and will now be content we have a rude awakening if the nations return to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwind of revolt will continue to shake the foundation of our nation until the bright day of justice emerge. But there's something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads in the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle in the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative process of protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic height of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. As we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devoted of civil right. We will be satisfied. When will we be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horror of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from the smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for whites only. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believe he has nothing for which to vote. No, no, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like mighty steam. I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trial and tribulations. Some of you have come fresh from a narrow jail cell. Some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storm of persecution and staggered by the wind of police brutality. We have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that on earth suffering is redemptive. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to the South Carolina. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums of the ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us now wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friend, so even though we face the difficulties of today's and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day, on the red hill of Georgia, the sons of a former slave and the sons of a former slave owner will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with the vicious racist, with his governor having his lips dripped with the word of interposition and nullification, one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with the little white boys and little white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked place will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to heal out the new mountain of despair, a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jingling discord of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, and to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all God's children will be able to sing with that new meaning, my country, this of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thy I sing. Land where my father died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Allegheny of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rocky of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slope of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from the Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from the Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happened, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hut, from every state and every city, we will be able to spend up that day with all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentile, Protestant and Catholic, will be able to join hand and sing in the world of the old Negro spirit. Free at last, free at last. God Almighty, we are at last. Very interesting, right? How far has our people swayed from that message, from that dream? I feel like we are now living in a time to which that when we try to gain more unity, you have a group of people with the loudest voice screaming for segregation, screaming for chaos. There are those amongst us that is willing to watch the whole world burn just to be kings and queens of the ashes. How far are we willing to actually ignite chaos into various community in order to actually remain in a position of power? Because at the end of the day, what up, Kara? Because at the end of the day, what are we fighting for? What is our purpose in life? Too many of us actually want the world to change, but yet remains the same. Change starts within you, man. I mean, it's like this. This is the thing that we're seeing right now with we actually using the effort, the struggles of our forefathers as a clutch to actually have the excuse for not doing anything with our lives. You know, and the those who actually wants to become something, who want to thrive for something, who actually want to partake in the American dreams and the freedom that their forefathers has fought so hard to gain, now feel this great shame or this guilt that has been placed upon them that they should not move forth because they owe a tax, a tariff to people that don't really give a fuck about them. We all like to talk about the community, the community, the community, the community. What is a community to you? Can you actually go down to your neighbor right now, knock on his door and actually ask for some sugar, some eggs, onion? Do you do that? When you see two people fighting in the street, do you step up and actually separate them and let them know that, hey, this ain't cool? Do you actually shame the drug dealers, the killers? Do you let them know that why are you hurting our people? Do you let T.I. know that it's not cool to be fucking around on his wife? Do you let Snoop Dogg know that, hey, you preaching the whole Crip talk shit, it's not good for the mindset of our youth? Do you tell Big Booty Brenda, you shouldn't keep fucking around with Two Gun Mike because these guys can't do nothing for you? Do you talk to these people? Or do you simply shame those who actually wants to elevate themselves? What is being pro-Black? So far, I know what it's not. From the information I can gather is that you can't fall in love with someone of a different race than you and call yourself pro-Black. Everything else seems to be allowed. T.I. seems to be more pro-Black than anybody. Snoop Dogg seems to be more pro-Black than anybody. As a matter of fact, those who promote the most dysfunction in our community seems to actually be the leaders, seems to be the one that's preaching how it is to be Black. How come those frustrations are not guided towards those who actually harm our community? How come the frustration is only placed upon those who are actually progressing in life? Like they're supposed to turn around and actually bring the whole community with them, even those who are actually not willing to do anything for themselves. How can you actually help someone who doesn't want to be helped? We all like to fantasize about this glorious day where we become kings and queens once more, when, you know, we become Moors and rules over Europeans. How's that going to happen? How is this fantasy ever to become true when you're not even the ruler of your own life? How can you actually expect your men to become warriors to fight for something when you don't give them nothing to fight for? When at home, he's being treated like shit. When he feels like he has no say in his own household. How do you expect him to actually take on that burden of responsibility when he have nothing else to gain in the process? Should we all be selfless? Should we, without shame, actually ever always put our well-being aside just to actually constantly like feed the bottomless pit? Is that what we're always supposed to do? See, I had the chance to actually like write down some of these quotes and speech. All men will be guaranteed the alienable right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. For the first time in a long time, men have the opportunity to travel anywhere in the world. Actually, men and women. You can go to Brazil, you can go to Dominican Republic, you can go to England. Europe is your oyster, China, anywhere in the world you want to. Why is it that burden placed upon Black men that as soon as you even in the manosphere, as soon as you even mention the talk of actually exploring the world, there's this backlash? I mean, I understand where it's coming from. It's coming from a place of fear, a place of abandonment, a place to which that a lot of people who actually made a lot of poor choices in life have this crab in the barrel mentality, to which now those who safeguard their dignity to try to elevate themselves, and those people, you feel like they're leaving you behind to the point that they're not allowed to succeed and leave you where you're from, where you left at. All those choices that you were hoping that they would come back for you, or to be placed in a position so which you can place that burden upon them while you still remain the same. Because all the sacrifice that we're mentioning, not once we talk about the sacrifice, about what is the role of the female, the role of the Black female. There's a lot of good Black women out there, just like there's a lot of good white women out there. Fuckery is in every nation, every creed, every culture. You will find that. But I think we should stop promoting chaos. We should stop promoting dysfunction and actually embrace those who can actually help us with that journey. You know, it's like, if I really want to troll, I can claim that I am pro-Black than a lot of you motherfuckers. Because based on the condition that has been set of what being a pro-Black is that the Black woman deserves the best of the best. And if according to her, I'm not the best, so I'm actually leaving room for those guys who happens to be the best, don't have to compete with me. What I mean by that is, if I wasn't with my girl, I would probably be fucking your bitch. So then you should be thankful that I'm not around to actually take away your Black queen. So, but our minds are so rigid that it's easier to be a big fish in a small pond. But once you actually become pioneer of this world, when you actually have the opportunity to explore what's around you, Those who don't have the courage to do so, they get scared, they become bitter because they feel that abandonment, and they feel like, well, if he's able to do this, if she's able to do that, because the people that are close to you, the people that you know, not the celebrities, the regular people, the average folks can actually now hop on a fucking plane and go to a different country and live life while you're stuck by some of the choices that actually hold you back. Too many child support, so you can't leave the country. Too many babies, so you can't actually find a good relationship. You become bitter. You see all these brothers that actually, like, for the longest, you wanted no part of them. And now they actually find someone that can actually make them happy. Or not even, they might not even find someone that make them happy, but their experience alone brings them happiness. The pursuit of happiness, that makes you angry. But why? I mean, men, we tend to be problem solvers. But one thing we refuse to do is actually take the will of someone else, deprive them of their willpower. So think of all the invention that we've created. The vacuum cleaner. Women got tired of actually having to bend over and then just clean the floor like this. We solved that problem. Dishwasher. Bitch got tired of cleaning dishes all the time. We solved that problem. Sex. A bitch got tired of fucking you. We solved that problem. We invented a sex robot. So with each problem we solve, then your task towards us, your responsibility towards your partner, towards the other gender, what would actually makes you relevant, decrease more and more. But yet you still expect the same from us and with less appreciation. The thing is, like, men, we're not that difficult. We find someone that can make us happy, that appreciate us for who we are, that actually encourage us to do better. It's like it's like a weird mechanism in our brain to which that when we find somebody that actually encourages us, like, all right, babe, I know, relax, take your time. What up, Big Dirk? What's going on, man? So therefore, we now find pleasure out of actually feeling appreciated. So we try harder. We do better than our best. We thrive. And that's what's misunderstood with a lot of our culture. And I get that point. I understand that. There's a list of fuckeries that goes on. We could blame white supremacy all day long. Yeah, some blames have to go through them with the propaganda and the with the propaganda, with the welfare system. But we also have to take accountability for the role we played in it as well. As men, we have to take responsibilities for the fuckeries that happen in our culture because we promoted that thought culture. Women also have to take responsibilities because the men that weren't pretending to be thugs before or assholes, they became assholes because they were shamed for being good guys. So it was like a cycle of fuckeries. At some point, somebody have to walk away and say, I'm done with this shit. Who's willing to do it? See, like, that's why to me, it doesn't really make any sense to keep drilling into, like, black woman, you got to change. Black woman, you got to do this for what? A person's not going to change unless she wants to or he wants to. So why should you force your ideology upon someone else? You maintain your ideology, and then you're going to find those who will accept the ideology. Because it's no longer a fight for color. It's not that. What you are witnessing right now is a separation that is taking place. It's a separation in the black community to which that for a long time, now you have the have versus the have not. Those who are willing to actually climb on the status ladder versus those who's not willing to do anything, but actually continue to use white supremacy as a clutch to why they don't have to do anything. And they expect you to accept it. That's why for so long, those who actually become successful despite all the odds were the most hated on. And now it's actually become more prevalent. So that's why, have you ever wondered why this echo chamber of, racism been sparking for like up to recently? It wasn't like that like in 2012 or even before Obama got elected and shit like that. It wasn't like that. It's just all of a sudden there's this huge push for divide, divide, divide. White people are the enemy. White people are the enemy. How would you know when you don't even have any white friends? How would you know? Do you even have any idea of their culture? Or are you just as ignorant as some of these white people that make stories about you because based on what they see on TV? Because see, you need motherfuckers like me that understand both cultures. Because see, my loyalty is not to white people nor to black people. My loyalty is to people that share my ideology. My loyalty is to those who actually is pro common sense and against stupidity. And stupidity come in every race, every creed, every ethnicity. If you're a dumb motherfucker, I don't want to fuck with you, regardless of your skin tone. And if you're a smart dude or smart woman, these are the people I want to have in my circle. Because when I first moved to England, right? Me and my family, so we like, fuck it, let's take a risk. So we save up like enough money that would last us like 6 months in case shit doesn't work out. I can always go back to the States, right? So first got there. Actually was great, but we struggle a little bit when it comes to when it comes to like our finances. It wasn't just black people that helped me. It wasn't just white people that helped me. Both helped me, black and white. Asians. Dude, so like it felt like God sent so many good people around my way. It was like that's what made me feel like I could never have any fear to go anywhere in the world. Because based on my personality, based on my spirit, I know that there's always going to be people that's attracted to me and to be able to help me when I need it and I help them when they need it. That's what a community is. A community is having the ability to actually help each other out. That means that in Haiti, you would have some women wouldn't have any like, like some women wouldn't have any baby daddies. But guess what? The community would help take care of them. So that means that the community would also correct the kids when they're doing something bad. And the women were humble because they know if they get cast away from that community, they will not survive. But we live in a system to which that people accept the bribe at the same time, still would not want to sacrifice the clutch, or they will not want to sacrifice the backing of the community. So then therefore, why do? You're making sure that everybody else is corrupt. So your ideology screams the loudest what a community should be. But in reality, that shit doesn't make any sense. How do you expect me to actually like rise up to the occasion and be a stepfather when you yourself would not respect me as your man? There's nothing wrong with being a stepdad. But you gotta have the respect that come with it. You gotta have the responsibility that come with it. And for a lot of men who find themselves in that position, they don't get that respect. They don't get that honor. And that's why the community is in that stage it is right now. And for those who actually are loyal to an ideology, not to a skin color, They go where they want it. Let me read you another quote. A check that is given to us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. No, that's not the one I wanted to read. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. To the solid rock of brotherhood, not of the Negro brotherhood. See, Martin Luther King understood something. Because some of the arguments that people place is that if you are in an intercultural relationship, is that you accepted the defeated mindset. You accepted the so-called the oppressor as the victor. But see, what you don't understand is this. Death is the end of all dictatorship. Death is the end of all dictatorship. Sparta ruled the slaves with an iron fist. But you know what happened? They were so busy trying to control the slaves, they became the slaves of the slaves. So what I mean by that is you cannot be free if you actually thinking like a slave. You thinking that the only place you belong is that little corner which they set up for you. That's the only place you're allowed to go. And then you actually now try to stop other people from leaving that ghetto, leaving the plantation. Those old folks, those old ass racist motherfuckers, their time is up, man. You really think they're going to live forever? The new people that's making the policies, they grew up smoking weed in college with their black buddies. I'm sure they've, fuck a couple of brown sugars here and there. Them black dudes went to college. They fucked a few Beckys here and there. So you expect people to remain divided when everything is coming together. That doesn't make any sense, man. Brotherhood. You think white man is not going through the same bullshit that black men has been going through right now? Why do you think the concept of MGTOW came from? Because they realize the system as a whole is fucked up. They divide the genders to the point that one have the upper hand of the other. So now we continuously to fight amongst each other. But in reality, we should actually come together and actually try to see where we could solve that problem. We're problem solvers. All you're gonna end up doing is antagonizing people that I really don't want to bother with your nonsense right now. You don't think white people have their own problem? They're going through the opioid crisis, divorce rate, feminism, the whole gay right movement shit. Dude, they got their own shit too. And you want to add on your pile of crap on top of that, or every word that comes out of your mouth, you racist. How long you think they're going to actually continue to be apologetic when all they want to do is live or let live? But you're too busy trying to scream racism based on the fact that some of the choices you made in life brought you to the point to which that caused you bitterness. Sure. I mean, it wasn't your fault that your mom chose the wrong guy or your dad chose the wrong woman. You don't know that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because once you come to a time which you can make your own decision, your job is to actually undo all the bullshit that your parents did. Like, despite my differences with my mom, despite the fact that we don't get along, I hold no anger towards her because I understood. I understand where she came from, just like I understand where my dad came from, why they could not be together. So all I was able to do now, all I'm actually doing is actually learn from their mistakes. So therefore, I don't continue the cycle. I don't want to have 3 or 4 baby mamas, like my dad did. And I wouldn't want my wife to actually taking out our frustration on my daughter. So I make sure that I got me with a woman, which that regardless of our differences, regardless of the fights that we go through, we actually come up with a solution. We can actually resolve our conflicts. Now, how many pro-black motherfuckers can actually do that? How many of them are willing to actually stick with their baby mamas? How many of them would actually be able to bring joy, to raise their kids in an environment to which that people feel comfortable, where their home becomes their sanctuary? I live in 2 continents. Right now, I'm in Poland for 3 months. So I'm leaving. I'm going back home by the end of next month. I'm able to do that with no problem. Why? Because I have a woman that supports my hustle, that understands that I can live in 2 continents, because we have goals, we have dreams, we have aspiration, to which that now I have the freedom to do that. I'm not a finished product. My girl didn't get with me because I was already a finished product. She saw the potential in me. She looked around. She saw nobody was, fighting over my ass. I was just a fuck toy. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna grab this motherfucker. And there we are, 14 years later. See, I understand the frustration that Black women goes through. And they feel like they are being unwanted. But the case is this. You want men that already made it, where all the culture are trained to actually recognize the potential in a man. Because men, we are loyal to those who are loyal to us. And once we've actually reached a certain status, we remember those who actually helped us get there. We remember and we actually become loyal to those who helped us reach that goal, reach those potential. That's the difference. It's not that, white girls got it better than, Black girls, or, they this, or they're more submissive, or just, listen, everybody get their fuckeries. But what I'm telling you this is that some culture, the women learn how to spot potential. So, Martin Luther King didn't marry a Black woman. He married a great woman that happened to be Black. A woman that was there after he got beat up by the police, to patch his wound, to give him a fucking massage. A woman who actually understood what he signed up for. And there are troubles that might be ahead, and she will stick by him. That's what a great woman do. A great woman knows the danger that you face in the real world. And when you come back home, she doesn't make your life a living hell. That's a great woman. So I married a great woman that happened to be white. It's Art Banaga. I'm out. Peace.